I can share, no, sir?
Hello. Yes.
I can
Because
share this screen.
power
No?
cut
I
can
think
affect
to allow me.
participants. No. Start the session at 35. Let's wait for another 2 minutes. And so, good evening to all of you, and I welcome all of you to the today's workshop on Smart PLS. So, as you know that we have conducted a series of similar workshops on regression analysis with the support of Dr. Chaturani Silva as the resource person. And today we start the first session of, of another important workshop on Smart PLS, which you know is very popular quantitative data analysis software today. So our resource person is Professor Dinesh Samanasinghe, well experienced resource person in terms of research methodologies and quantitative data analysis. So let me give a brief introduction about Professor Dinesh Samanasinghe. So Professor Dinesh Samanasinghe is currently serving as a professor in the Department of Industrial Management of the Faculty of Business, University of Moratuwa. He served as the head of the Department of Management of Technology in the University of Moratuwa from 2015 to 2020. He was graduated from the University of Sijawardhanapura, Sri Lanka, securing a BSc Marketing Management Special Degree with a first class honors division. He obtained both MBA and PhD in marketing from the University of Colombo, Sri Lanka. As the head of MOT, he was an active member of the committee to transform the department into the Faculty of Business and to introduce a brand new degree of Bachelor of Business Science. Under his leadership, the Department of MOT initiated the first international conference on management of technology in Sri Lanka in 2016. Further, he was in the Program Development Committee of the Department of Industrial Management to introduce the new specialization of financial services management in 2020, as well as the Master of Business Administration program in 2021. Coming to his research contributions, he has published over 30 research papers in both internationally and locally reputable journals on marketing and management, and has presented conference papers at more than 20 international and local research symposia. He is a reputable research supervisor of MBA, MPhil, DBA, and PhD programs, as well as serving as a visiting academic for several foreign universities since 2012. His teaching and research interests include marketing, consumer behavior, entrepreneurial marketing, and digital marketing, and some other related areas. He has served as a member of the Educational Reform Committee of the Sri Lankan Institute of Marketing, SLIM, since 2017 to 2020. He has been serving as a council member of the Sri Lankan Institute of Service Management since 2020. So this is a brief profile of Professor Dinesh Samanasinghe, and I hope he will share his knowledge with us very productively and fruitfully to deliver the knowledge on this Smart PLS software. So I cordially invite Professor Dinesh to commence the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lalit sir, for the nice introduction. I did too much. And thank you very much for again inviting me to conduct this session. And I think you all are welcome. And I'm really glad to have this session on behalf of the University of Sijawardhanapura, where I was graduated. Then Lalit, I think you can hear me, no, sir?
Yes, Dinesh, we can clearly hear you.
Okay, I will switch off the video, and I have shared. Can you see this screen?
Yes.
Okay. Then 2 articles I shared. These are some of the very basic readings, I think, for a start, right? I will discuss the very basic thing relevant to the Smart PLS today, and we can have another session to discuss some of other advanced analysis let's say sort of if you are doing some of the research relevant to this social science, especially business research, you can see survey methodology based research, quantitative, correlational designs. We can discuss about something like moderate analysis, mediate analysis. Likewise, we can discuss next week, including some of the multi-group analysis. These are also some of the emerging trends if you look at this data analysis, and also especially in PLS. Then today I will discuss the very basic thing relevant to the PLS graph, and also how to conduct the basic analysis. I have sent you the link also. I think you have downloaded that one, right? This is the one, I think, link. I hope you all have downloaded. And I asked Lalit sir to have this student version to be downloaded, since the case is if you download this professional version, it's only up to 1 month. After that, you have to renew that, you have to pay that. Therefore, I think it is better not to use this professional one. Once you do a real research, you can download that one. Once you download that one, again, you can download this professional one free, right, in your laptop. It's very difficult to have this any other, what do you call this, license free, right? No any free access. That's a constraint. Therefore, better to use this what do you call student version. I think you have this, right? On the desktop, you can see if you have downloaded this Smart PLS 3 latest version, right? Therefore, I think Lalisa, up to this point, I think participants are okay, no? They have downloaded the version.
Yes, I shared the links and all the things through the Dean office. I think they have done.
It's very simple thing. I think you can simply download. I think when you download the student version, no need for any key. It's lifetime. It's there is no time period, right? You can use forever student version. When you double click on this Smart PLS icon, you can see you get this window, right? Then this is the initial window you get when you click on this Smart PLS, right, icon on your desktop. And if I mention something about this student version, there are some limitations. That's the case. If you look at this one, professional version, you can see more than 100 cases. 100 cases means, let's say in your survey, if you are having more than 100 participants responses, you need professional version, right? Or academic version you need. But if you look at student version, as a learner, you can use this, but the case is maximum 100 cases you can use, sample size. That's a constraint. But as a learner, you can first use this student version, and there are a lot of options. Some of the issues may be sample size, and also sometimes you can't export the things to R-like software for further analysis, and also into Excel-like. These are some of the things, and also very attractive colors you can't change, like your final graph. These are the constraints. But as a learner, you can use this one to get the basic done. That's the purpose of having this student version. Therefore, later you can use any other version. Sometimes you can pay and buy this. Weekly also you can pay, right? That model also they have. Therefore, that is something very basic. You have to think about whether you get the professional version or not. Then I think this is very simple software, but it's still getting developed. I should mention that also. If you search on the internet, Ringle and the team, and here they are the founders of this Smart PLS. You see, there are different type of PLS techniques. PLS stands for partial least square. That's a very basic statistical method they use, technique, partial least square. But if you look at, there are so many apps relevant to this PLS. But Smart PLS is very much famous. If you look at even one article which I have shared with you, you can see this one, right? You can see number of researchers who have undertaken using this PLS, Smart PLS. You can see a lot of repeat index journal, including Q1 and Q2. They have undertaken in the recent past lot of research. They have analyzed using this Smart PLS. Therefore, now it's getting very much established and getting developed as well. That is something very basic. Then if I further mention something about why smart PLS, I think you can read the two articles, and also you can go to the internet, Google Scholar, and you can refer to further. You yourself can learn, right? That's a nice thing about this software, right? When you know the basics, further you can explore. Therefore, I will just introduce the basic things only. Then if you look at this, this is sort of a SCM technique, right? SCM, you might have heard about, structural equation modeling, me say that. That means you can draw your conceptual framework on this software with the particular data you have collected. Therefore, you can back your conceptual framework with the data, and you can have a nice graph on which you can run all the analysis. But traditionally, we used to have this SPSS, Excel, right? There you don't have nice, what do you call, sort of a figure or graph, right? About your conceptual framework. But here you can run both fact analysis and also regression together, right? These facilities are there in SCM. Then if you look at the SCM, Lalisa, I think you can hear me, no?
Yes, Dinesh, we can.
Okay. Then you can see this smart PLS. But if you look at the SCM techniques, there's a very famous dominant one. If you look at that is AMOS. I think most of you might have heard or maybe undertaking studies based on AMOS. AMOS is well established. But if you look at this AMOS and PLS, there are some differences. Even these articles also, when you read, you can understand. But if I mention statistically, something to differentiate these two, if you look at AMOS, that is based on covariance matrix, right? AMOS use covariance matrix of your data set. They are trying to maximize the covariance, right, in the model. That's very basic logic. I think as management researchers, power users, I think we should know the basic differences, but you don't have to worry about, right, further what is the statistical logic and some of the more statistical definitions. Therefore, as a management researcher, I think you can know some of the differences, but if you are interested, you can further read. The other thing is, if you look at this PLS, they use not the, what do you call this covariance matrix. They use a variance matrix, right? That's one of the statistical difference. If you look at the root relevant to these two software, right? SCM use covariance based matrix, that is example AMOS. But if you look at PLS, that is using variance matrix. That is the statistical difference, right? Further, if you look at some of the practical differences, if you look at AMOS, you might have heard about. You have to look at several parametric assumptions, right? We have to look at mainly the normality, right? If you are using this AMOS like SCM techniques, you have to fulfill the normal distribution assumption, multivariate normality like assumptions, right? We call parametric statistical assumptions you have to fulfill. And also sample size also you have to think about. Some people say that 250 minimum, or even it is not sufficient, right? You can see. Therefore, you need sufficiently large sample size for AMOS like SCM technique, which are based on covariance matrix. But if you look at alternatively, this variance based smart PLS here we are talking about today, you don't need that much sample size if you look at. That's why these are some of the practical situations you can decide whether you are going for AMOS or whether you are going for PLS. Both are having their pros and cons, right? Some people are arguing that AMOS is much better. Some people argue that PLS is much better. You can read the debate also in the internet. But as a pragmatic perspective, right, we can see PLS is very practical, especially even for developing new models also, right? Model development rather than what do you call model or the theory development rather than theory testing. If you look at AMOS like software, that is much better to test the theory, right? If you're having very established theory, you are going to test that. But if you look at this PLS, more important for exploratory type investigation, right? Developing new model in a new context, adding new variables and see how the emerging model is, right, develop. Likewise, you are having much flexibility, and also using a small sample size, you can run a nice analysis, right? Therefore, this is more into predictive sort of analysis, right? This software. Likewise, there are some basic differences between PLS and AMOS. Therefore, when you write even a journal, sometimes you can justify these reasons. Therefore, in PLS, you don't need these parametric assumptions. That is relax. That means sometimes when you do this very basic analysis using SPSS about the normality, right? Whether you are having normal distribution, even the linearity, right? We are looking at some of the parametric assumptions, even the VIF factor, right? We call multi-collinearity. I think for these issues, you are having some chance when you use this PLS. Those are some of the basic differences between PLS and AMOS. Lalisa, is it clear? Any clarification?
Yes, Dinesh. Yes.
Okay. Then that's a difference. Therefore, you can understand practically in many scenarios today. You can see sometimes you can't use AMOS like SCM techniques. In that case, you can go for as alternative PLS. Therefore, we can see it is getting very much popular with even small sample size. And when you don't have the normality assumptions, right, multivariate normality, right, that's a good solution. Even if you have the multivariate assumptions fulfilled, you can still go for this PLS. That is also there, right? Like even if you are having normality, parametric assumption fulfilled, still you have the freedom, right, to use this PLS. The case is they are having something called bootstrapping, right? You might have heard about the term bootstrapping. We use in different contexts, but they use something called non-parametric bootstrapping technique. That means, let's say you are having a sample of 50. Using that sample of 50, bootstrapping generate they more samples. Resampling process is there. Like you can generate using your 50 cases, 50 sample size, 5,000 subsamples, right? Using that data set, right? Sort of a simulation based techniques they are using. Therefore, you can see more subsamples it can generate. Accordingly, they develop a particular distribution, right? That means they are having more observations than you collected, right? Like you are having 50 sample size, but they are developing what you call resampling more samples, even 5,000, right? You can specify that using bootstrapping technique. Therefore, it is developing a separate distribution, and they are having more I think practical what do you call generalizable sort of a distribution they developed. That is something in bootstrapping you can see. That's why this is getting very popular even with small samples. Later we can see how to do that. That is something in nutshell. Then I think we can go to this particular software. I think you are with this particular software now, right? When you double click on the item, you can see this screen. Are you okay up to this point?
Yes, Professor Dinesh.
Thank you, Ashoka Miss. Then I think I have sent you a small data set, but that might not be a perfect data set, about 70 cases, right? Then if you are having this data set, you can see, right? I have emailed you. I have emailed the same data set using two different file formats, right? You can see one, this is a traditional Excel file, right? Normal Excel format. You can see this one. Sometimes even you can have SPSS data set also like this. Then in Smart PLS, you can't work with SPSS data sheet or worksheet or this normal Excel worksheet. Therefore, you have to go to file and you have to save this, right? I don't have this Windows license in this laptop. If you go to this save as, you can click, then you can save this as comma.csv file, right? We call comma.csv. Or you can say sometimes this one, right? You can see I have saved that, right? You can try to save that. This we call Excel comma. You can see this Excel comma separated file, right? You can see different terms sometimes. This Microsoft Excel comma separated file or comma delimited file, right? You can save that. Simply you save as when you open this Excel, normal Excel and save as, you can have that option, right? You can save this as comma delimited or comma separated values file. then we need that file, right? Simply you have to save as, right? Comma separated values file. That's the thing. Only this PLS can understand this format, right? Not the normal SPSS worksheet or normal Excel worksheet. Simply you have to save that. Then you have to keep that in your laptop or the right in your folder. Then now when you are in this small PLS, you have to go to file, right? You have to go to file. You can see this file, create new project, right? You can go to file, create new project. Sometimes same option is you can get here also, right? You see here, right? New project. That is also possible, right? But go to this file, create new project. You can give a name, right? I might say PLS 2022, something like that. You can give a name to the project. Then you can click OK. Then you can see, right? You get the project open, right? By the name you gave. Then you can see two icons are there, right? One is sort of a graph, sort of a icon. The other one is one for you to import the data set. Now you have created the project. Then you have to double click to import the data, right? You can see this. You can double click here. Then you can import what you save as comma delimited or comma separated values file, right? You can see there, right? You know where it is in your folder. Then you can double click that or you can open that, right? That's a very simple process. Then again, if you want, you can rename more, right? You can do whatever the thing you want, right? For the file name. Then you see it is open like this, right? If you saw my data set, you can see there are several variables, including several demographic, and also others are more into interval scale. We assume Likert scale questions, right? But even you can have other other what you call ordinal variables also, right? Here you can have nominal variables, ordinal, interval, ratio. Even categorical variables are possible like this: ethnicity, gender, right? Nominal variable. Then you can see on this first column, you can see, right, row wise, the indicators are the labels are there, right? All these. I have given you some Likert scale type questions: commitment, job commitment, satisfaction indicators. We measure satisfaction using job satisfaction using 4 items, commitment 1 item, then autonomy in the job several items, job routineness. Likewise, you can see from your survey questionnaire, right? You get, and also demographic data. This is the particular data set when you import them into this PLS software, right? Further, you can see at a glance case wise. Then also you can see the mean values, right? Median. Those are automatically coming when you import the data set, right? That's a starting point. But if you're having any issues in your data, let's say missing data, or sometimes maybe wrong values, commas, right, dots, you can't see this view. I have seen that when people are trying to start their project, when they import the data set, when there is anything in your original file, anything missing or any different text, maybe wrongly entered values or the commas or dots or anything, you can't see this one, right? Remember, that's the problem. Then you have to again go back to your data sheet and correct that, right? You have to be very much careful about that. You can see the indicators. Indicator correlations are also automatically coming, right? This is the particular view when you import the data set. Then raw file you can see here, right? You can't see all these, but it's a summary, right? You can see. You can see here this number of respondents, right? And also the particular data values, right? You can see. You can't see this view when you're having any issues in your original file, right? Wrongly entered values, missing values. Therefore, using SPSS or any other missing values and other treatments you have to do, right? Before you import the data set, right? Which you can do using SPSS or Excel. I think you have this file, right? Like this imported. Is it okay, Lalisa, up to this point?
I think so. Yes.
even yourself can later also practice. I think you are
Yes.
recording this one also. Okay. Then now you can see under this project PLS 2022, you see the data file here, 70 records, right? I am having 70 cases, respondents, right, in my sample. Then you can see this PLS graph also. Then I double click this graph now. Now my data set is imported. That is visible. That means it is fine, right? It is ready for the analysis. When I double click this icon, you can see PLS graph icon. You can see this blank right space. On the left side, you can see down. You can see the indicators, right? First, I'm having these nominal indicators, then other interval or other, what do you call, indicators are there, right? In my survey question, you can see. You can simply click this and see what's happening, right? You can see the full indicator set when you click this first icon, right? Now, you might have a particular conceptual framework or write in your research, right? You develop based on the literature, right? You might be having boxes and arrows simply, right? If you're having a conceptual framework or model. Then you have to keep that in mind, right? You might be having several independent variables, dependent variable, mediator, moderator in your conceptual framework, and also hypotheses, right? I might say linking boxes and arrows. You are having boxes as the variables of the construct, and also arrows as the linkages, right? Hypotheses, relationships. Keeping that in mind, you can try to draw that here, right? Even in AMOS also, I think you are having the same practice. I think people who are doing AMOS, they might have the idea, right? The basic, how do you draw it? There are some similarities as well. Therefore, simply you have to draw it. Then it's very easy, right? You have to simply draw a picture or something, right? Now here you can see there's a select icon, right? If you want to do something, first go to select. Then you can see here latent variable, right? Latent variable. Latent variable means something in your conceptual framework, your one independent variable or dependent variable, we can say latent variable, which you want to measure as a construct. I might say, for example, job satisfaction in this case, right? Job satisfaction. Latent means, I think you know in research methodology, which is something unobservable, right? Job satisfaction. That's why we are using multiple indicators, observable indicators, right? To measure job satisfaction using several indicators, right? Asking questions. Therefore, you might be having several latent variables. Some are independent, some are dependent, some are mediator, some are moderator, likewise. Then these are the connectors, right? Arrows. Let's say in your conceptual framework, you want to link them into other variable. You link independent variable with dependent variable. Therefore, you can use this connecting, right? Arrows. You can select them. Here also, there are certain things later we can discuss in the future, right? Like moderating effect. And also they recently introduced quadratic effect, right? Quadratic effect. Sometimes when you are having non-linear relationship between two variables, let's say independent, dependent variable relationship, sometimes non-linear. But traditionally we assume in most of the cases linearity. But practically there might not be linearity, non-linear. In that case, to introduce non-linear variable relationships, you can use this quadratic effect, right? Where you apply the quadratic formula. It's very easy. You don't have to do anything. You have to simply use this particular tool and make it, right? Quadratic effect. They create a non-linear relationship into a linear one, applying quadratic effect, right? They recently introduced. But just for your knowledge, you can learn that, right? Leisurely. Then moderating effect, next day we will discuss, right? Moderating variables. Mediate also we can discuss once we learn this basic model. And also here calculate icon is there, right? Once you have drawn that, you have to run the analysis. No? For that you are having simply algorithm, right? PLS is having several algorithms, right? When you click this one, your analysis is run. Calculations are coming, right? That's the case. Therefore, these are the very basic icons you have to deal with. And also you can see, you can zoom, right? Zoom out, zoom in, right? Once you draw the particular diagram, right? Those are things. Then here file, here edit. Again, under edit, you can see these what do you call algorithms and certain things, right? Sorry, calculate, right? Calculate. You can see here the same thing is coming here, right? Calculate. Themes are there. Sometimes these themes are not allowed in this student version, right? That's why there are some limitations. You can't make it much nicer, but you can see here, right? Color palette is there, right? You can see here. When you click that, you get this, right? You can make it colorful, but I think student version, you are not given this option that much. Therefore, they are limited. Even you can have the grid view, right? There are such basic things, right? That's a very basic idea behind this background, right? In the PLS graph. Now I am to draw the conceptual framework. Then let's say this side, I see these things. Therefore, if I want to draw the conceptual framework, first I have to draw these, create these latent variables. I select and I can click this latent variable and I can come to this particular right canvas, right? I can simply click there, right? Once I click, I get one latent variable, right? Again, when I click somewhere here, I get the second one, right? If I want third one, likewise, you can create. Again, when I go here, select, it is not coming, right? You can see the select icon, you can click and then you can go to latent variable, right? Then you can create another one. Likewise, you can make it. Then again, you can go to select and right, you can go for different option, right? Then if you want to delete this one, you can simply click on this one and click the delete button, right? Or you can click this, right click, delete. These are very basic, very simple, right? Way of drawing diagrams. That is a very basic thing in drawing this, what do you call latent variable. We call the something unobservable construct. Now here I am having several unobservable. I'm looking at only not the demographic at the moment. I'm looking at something in my main conceptual framework construct. I'm having job satisfaction, organization commitment, autonomy in the job, and also job routineness, right? I'm having 1, 2, 3, 4 variables. Therefore, I select 4, right, latent construct. Then you have to click on this one and right click, you can rename. Now you have to give a name, no? Simply you can click on this one, this circle, right click, rename. Then you can give whatever the name you want to be displayed, right? I can say first one, organizational commitment or something. Right? You can click OK. You see there, right? This one also I can do the same. Second one, I put job satisfaction, right? Let's say third one, I put autonomy, right? Fourth one, I put routineness. This is how you write, relabel those, rename. Now I have the particular variables construct, right? Then you can decide whether you can see, we will see whether you can connect now. You can trial and error, you can make it trial and error, right? You can learn. You can select this connect. You see there, right? You can make it. Likewise, you can learn how to make it. But you should have something in your mind about your conceptual framework, right? What is the particular independent variable? What's a dependent variable? What's a relationship or something? For the moment, I will select only three variables, let's say. job routineness, job autonomy, and job satisfaction. For the moment, I will select. Then I connect job autonomy into job satisfaction. Then I connect job routineness also into job satisfaction, right? You might have maybe positive or negative relationship in your hypothesis, right? Conceptual framework. But now when you are having this red color, right? Red color means these are empty ones, right? Not take link to any of the data. You are having indicators. Now you have to bring the indicators here, right? Then only this red color is coming to this, what you call this proper, right? Maybe active colors. You can see now I want to have this job autonomy related indicators to be dragged, linked into this construct, right? That means this is measured using several observable indicators, right? Here job autonomy I have measured using 4 indicators, right? I can select autonomy and drag it. Then this color is coming. That means there are indicators linked now, right? If you want, you can have all these together also, right? You can select one, then with the shift, you can select what you want, then you can drag all, right? That is also possible. Then job routineness also, I select one, then with the shift key, right? I select other 3 as well, then I drag. In job satisfaction, now you can see that. Now, when you click on this particular, let's say job autonomy, you are having 4 indicators. You can click on this particular construct and you can change this, what you call visibility of your indicators, right? First, you want to go to this select, then select, then right click, right? Then only you can see this, right? This indicators. You can align them, right? Align indicators top. If you want, you can align them into right, maybe as per your convenience, right, bottom, right? Likewise, you are having that option, right? You can simply do that. Very basic operations. Now, job satisfaction also you can select and you can align them to the right. This one you can select and align them into bottom, right? Likewise, you can make it. Now I have linked them, right? Then only you can see this blue color, right? When it is complete. If not, red color is there. When there's error also, red color is there. If you don't want this in your final model, these indicators to be shown, you can hide them. Again, you can click on this one, right click. You can see hide option is there, right? Hide indicators of selected construct. You want, you can hide. Again, right click, show the indicators, right? Likewise, basic operations are there. I think you can do this, right? Very simple and interesting part, right? Drawing this one. Lalit sir, are you okay up to this point?
Yes, you nicely explained this. I think very clear.
Okay. Then now, let's say I had drawn the model. Now my data also linked to it. Now, then next step. And also I should mention something. Now you can see this we call particular latent variables. This may be something extra, but may be useful when you are doing a research. Now you can see these arrows are leading to, like, from this job autonomy. That means a latent variable construct, your main variable here, one independent variable, one construct. From this, arrows are going to directed to indicator, right? Arrows are headed towards the indicators. We call this a reflective measurement model, right? Reflective indicators. Reflective. That means when job autonomy is there, these indicators are reflected, right? That means sort of a autonomy is present, other things are happening, right? Indicators are happening. We call reflective. If you look at AMOS, most of the case, they are having reflective, right? You can see that. In AMOS, I think they allow only reflective sort of model. Now here all are reflective. But in PLS, one advantage is, let's say job autonomy is reflective, but you measure job routineness, that is not reflective. That can be formative. Let's say from literature, you say that. That means like this, you can select this one. You can see here, switch between formative and reflective. When you click that one, now you can see direction is different. No? Now these indicators, observable indicators, you can see their arrows are headed towards the latent variable. That means when indicators, these routineness indicators, when they are present, job routineness is happening. First, these things are happening. Then only you can see this is the result, right? We call formative. Therefore, you are having both options, right? In this PLS, that is not the advantage. Sometimes in literature, you can see some variables are variables of the construct are formative. That means indicators are forming that construct, right? First, indicators are happening. When that is happening, second, the broader construct is the result. We call formative. But reflective means when the particular construct or the particular concept is there, right? Particular variable, the concept is there, its result can be the particular indicators, right? We call reflective. Therefore, you can see in PLS, you are having both options. That is based on the literature and the conceptual framework, right? Whether you have reflective or formative, you can see that. I think I have sent you one of the two PDFs. One, you can see one example also, but to understand that one, right? You can see reflective indicators, formative indicators. For example, reflective, let's say timeliness. If you want to measure timeliness as the particular broader construct, unobservable latent variable, timeliness, when the timeliness is there, some of other indicators are happening, right? For example, timeliness, if you want to measure, it can be measured as a reflective one. That means when the timeliness is there, other things are visible, right? Accommodation of last minute request. That means it's an indicator of the timeliness, no? Punctuality in meeting deadlines. When the timeliness is happening, these things are results. Speed of returning phone calls in a maybe a call center or right in a counter, right in office, you can see. Therefore, this is a reflective one, right? That is based on the literature and the particular construct development, you can see this, right? But other one is a formative indicators. That means when the indicators are there, you can forecast, you can predict the broader construct, right? As a resultant. For example, like stress. If you want to measure the stress can be the result of these things, right? Not because of the stress, these things are happening, but because of these things, overall results can be the level of stress, right? Let's say job loss, divorce, recent accident a person met can lead to the broader stress construct. We call formative, right? Therefore, I think you can see that demarcation right in PLS, but in AMOS, most probably you can see these reflective constructs are there. That is another advantage you have in measurement. Is it clear, Lalisa, that elaboration?
Yes, clear. Then is it different when we measure the two constructs? Now, if we measure the right using formative way, or is there any difference in measuring these two constructs?
Can you make it clear as a question?
Now, if you want to measure this one concept using formative,
yes.
Now again, we usually measure the time, the indicators, and then we measure the latent variable. No.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
when it's come to the other option, so is it different to measure this variable?
No. Like you are having the normal questionnaire, but the indicator means some indicators are what do you call reflective indicators. Some are formative indicators. Some construct you can measure based on the literature. You should be able to identify whether that's a result of the construct. You can measure, like let's say you are running a temperature, you are having a fever. Then when you're having the fever, I can measure fever from two aspects, doctor can. One is when you are having the fever, there are some attributes, what you call the some symptoms because of the fever. That means because of the fever, the results are there. That's a reflective. When you are asking, measuring body temperature or something, can be because of the fever you are having that. But if I want to look at the fever from a different perspective, formatively also I can measure. Maybe some of the certain things might be there. When these things are there, fever can be the result.
So that means operationalization same, no? No difference.
Operationalization same, but
Right.
when you read the literature, you should be able to identify whether formative or reflective.
Reflective.
Yes.
So
That is there.
the way
But
we
many people
specify the
do
model,
not think
no?
about that. In AMOS, we assume all the time reflective. You might be doing AMOS, no, sir?
Yes.
You are having almost like this, no? Like job autonomy, like a reflective construct.
Okay, yes.
If you understand,
Dinesh,
yes.
if we reflective one, if we have put as a formative one, will it affect to the final results of our?
Yes, I think sometimes it can there can be maybe some of the quality issues, and ultimately measurement or the what you call predictions can be misleading sometimes. You can't have the better results anyway. But there are some models you can see formative or reflective, there is no big difference. But better if you can make sure whether it's a formative or reflective, then there is much accuracy in your particular final results, Ashokams. But some people do not think about that. They simply put reflective. But if you're having more
Because in AMOS we used to have like this reflective one. That's why the first time I knew this one.
Yes. That's why Ringal and others, I think, talk about this importance of these two, and PLS can allow both together. Sometimes in your model, let's say one variable, now job autonomy I measure reflectively, but job satisfaction also I measure as reflective construct, but routineness I measure as a formative. Both are allowed in the same model. That's the nice of this particular analysis software.
Okay, thank you.
Then you can further read and understand. In my article also, there are 2 examples you can see. I think there is another one in this one. You can see this article, page number 13, if I can remember correct. Another example. Now, let's say if you want to measure cycling fitness of a person, reflective measure as a reflective one, you are having questions, indicators in operationalization in the questionnaire this way. When the cycling fitness is there, we can see heart rate. When you are having a very good heart rate, that means cycling fitness, because of the cycling fitness, these things are happening after that as a result. Lactate level, then muscle proportion or something like that may be resultant of the cycling fitness. If you're having good fitness, good heart rate is there. You can understand, I think. But if you look at the same thing from a different measures, again, I measure cycling fitness, but as a formative one. If you are having prior training, very well done, you are having good cycling fitness, we can assume. If you're having good nutrition level previously, we can predict sort of cycling fitness is good, right? Some assumptions. If you're having drug abuse, it might affect your cycling fitness. These things are happening before that. Therefore, that's a formative measurement model. Lalit sir, that is another example for you to think in terms of.
But generally, we assume that the latent variables are measured using reflective manner, no?
Generally, but sir, later people were talking about some.
Now it has, but yes. Because we assume that when the dimensional variable is present, then these indicators present, no? That's the normal.
That's in AMOS, sir, that's a mindset. That's why I think the way we
use this is something actually I also came across something new.
Yes. And also there is another technique, if the time allows, next day we will discuss. when you go to this one, you see something called, I will show you, confirmatory tetrad analysis. Tetrad analysis. Using this technique, you can know each construct is formative or reflective, right? Based on the correlation matrix, they have calculated particular technique to say whether your original one is your indicators are formative or reflective, right? Using this one, you can make sure. Now they have incorporated this one also, whether you need formative or reflective based on the correlation. Like I can tell you something like this, further if you want to understand, like if you are having reflective one, there is a very good correlation between these indicators. That means when autonomy 1 and autonomy 2, they are having a very good correlation. Autonomy 2 and 3 also, they are having in between very good correlation when you are having reflective. But when you are having formative, it is not necessary between these indicators to have a correlation. Sometimes there can be correlation, sometimes no correlation, sometimes positive correlation, sometimes negative correlation. That is the particular technique for you to identify whether it's more towards formative or reflective, sir.
Then would that affect Cronbach alpha value?
No, sir.
Right.
No such linkage. There can be some sort of influence, but you can see like even when you talk about the factor loadings also, we see here we are looking at very much more factor weights, but you are looking at factor loadings or something, not traditionally factor loadings. Likewise, there are some differences, but that does not affect the what you call composite reliability or the particular what you call Cronbach alpha.
Right.
Later, they have developed this technique, what you call confirmatory tetrad analysis. I think this may be something too much, but you can further read on this. Then for the moment, I will assume this is also reflective, then for the convenience. But remember, when now we have to run the analysis, when you go to calculate, in the past, let's say 2010, 2012, like PLS had only one algorithm, right? Just PLS algorithm. PLS was originally developed for formative sort of models. If you read about the history of PLS, that was originally developed for formative type of construct as a solution. Now in AMOS, you see most of the case reflective.
Dinesh mama samanya apa?
Yes, sir.
මට මේ පොඩ්ඩක් අර මේ දැන් අපි job satisfaction එක measure කරනවා නම් අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කරන්නේ ඉතින් එයා හැමදාම වැඩට එනවා මෙතන තන වෙනින් කෙනෙක්ට recommend කරනවා ඒ වගේ වුණානේ.
Oh, sir.
එතකොට ඒක reflective ද formative?
I feel more into reflective, you know, because of the satisfaction he is coming every day, more committed than having good word of mouth. Then that can be most of the case reflective, I feel.
කියන්නේ satisfaction එක නිසා තමයි එයා
හරියටම හරි sir. Oh, reflective as a result.
අපි දැන් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අර මෙච්චර කළා ලලිතුත් කිව්වා වගේ අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඒ වුණාට අනිත් පැත්තට නේද ලලිත් දාන්නේ.
ඔව් අපි assume කරන්නේ ඔය හැම variable එකම reflective කියලා නේද?
reflective කියලා අරගෙන මේ අපි ඒ විදියට අරගෙන ඒ ටික එකතු කරලානේ job satisfaction එක ඒ ටිකේ total එක අරගෙන කියලා ගන්නෙ නේද?
ඔව් සර්.
එතකොට අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි මේක අඳිනකොට අඳින්නේ මේ ඇඳලා තියෙන විදියටනේ.
ඔව් සර්, correct.
අපි විදියට නම් මේක අනිත් පැත්තට එන්න ඕනේ නේ දිනේෂ්.
ඔව් සර්, මෙහෙම ඒක සර් බලන්න යන්න ඕනේ අපිට ඇත්තට මේ එතන තියෙනවා.
නමුත් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අර බලන විදිය අර විදිය වුණානේ අපි අහන්නේ job satisfaction එක කරන්නේ මේ වැඩට එනවද හැමදාම වා මෙතන තන recommend කරනවද ඒ වගේ වුණානේ අපි අහන්නේ.
Reflective, sir. Yes, correct. More reflective, but there can be other side also, sir. We can develop tools even from other perspective, formative perspective.
අපිට second literature in support වෙනවා නම් සානිත් පැත්තට ගන්න පුළුවන් නේ.
සමහර literature වල කියන්නේ නැහැ sir. එතකොටම තමයි sir මේ option එක තියෙන්නේ confirmatory tetrad analysis කියලා.
ඒකෙන් අපිට test කරන්න පුළුවන් නේ.
සරලම උදාහරණය තමයි sir මේ reflective නම් බොහෝ දුරට මේගොල්ලෝ අතර strong correlation එකක් තියෙනවා between items. නමුත් දැන් අර උදාහරණ මම ගත්ත job stress කියන එක sir formative එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ එයා accident එයාට වුණාද job එක නැති වුණාද තමයි accident එකයි job loss එක අතර correlation එකක් නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒවා formative sir. හැබැයි ඒගොල්ලෝ create කරනවා stress එක.
අර මේ ලලිත් කිව්ව එක වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා මාත් කල්පනා කරේ කොන්බයින්ඩ් ඇල්ෆා වැලියු එක දැන් අර එකක් උඩ යනවා එකක් යට යනවා වගේ වුණොත් ඇල්ෆා වැලියු එක අඩු වෙන්න පුළුවන් වගේ එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් නේද formative එකේදී එහෙම.
Sometimes you might not have the highest sort of a Cronbach alpha level. Sometimes it can be somewhat moderate level.
කොන්බයින්ඩ් ඇල්ෆා වැලියු එකේ කියන එක ඒ කියන්නේ ඒව අතරේ correlation එකක් තියෙනවා කියන එක කියන්නේ නේද?
සමහරට සර් formative යනකොට ඒ complex alpha කියන එක එච්චර important නැති ගන්නෙ නෑ නේ.
වෙන්න පුළුවන් නේද? අර
මොකද අපි purpose
hello sir professor Dinesh මේ මම ප්‍රතාප් මම හිතන්නේ එතනදී මේ formative ගියොත් අපිට literature support එකක් නැතුව යන්න බෑ නේද?
එකක් ඒක අනිත් එක මේ ප්‍රතාප මේක ඔයාලට මේකින් බලන්න පුළුවන් අරගොල්ලෝ අතර කොච්චර correlation එකක් තියෙනවද කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ support කරනවද කියලා.
ඔව් සහ එතන අර මම දන්න විදිහට මම expert opinion එකක් confirm කරන්න ඕන නේද? formative variable indicators ටික confirm කරන්න.
Not only this literature වල තියෙනවා නම් expert view ඊට අමතරව මේකත් ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ multiple methods you can use to just
මෙතනින් මේ empirical data වලින් support කරන්න පුළුවන් නේ මේකේ.
මෙතනින් මේකෙන් පුළුවන් data වලින්
Empirical data.
informatory එකකින්.
ඒ කියන්නේ මේ අර කොන්බයින්ඩ් ඇල්ෆා වැලියු එක අඩු වුණත් අරකින් අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් මේක මේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ කියලා නේ.
ඔව්
අර වැලියු එකේ.
ලලිස Cronbach එක අඩු වුණා කියලා අපි රිසර්ච් එක නොකර ඉන්නේ අපිට බලන්න පුළුවන් composite එක ඊට අමතරව AV එක සමහරට එහෙම අඩු වෙන වෙලාවල් තියෙනවනේ සමහර ඒවා. නමුත් by looking at other measures we can try to keep that construct no sir.
එතනදී මම හිතන්නේ සර් මේ අර global statement එකක් දාලා අපි ඒක confirm කරගන්නත් ඕන reflective විදිහට යන විදිහට. අර formative indicators ටික.
Much better you can support from different perspectives, but this can give you the help to support using data driven.
Sure.
ඒ කියන්නේ data ඒ කියන්නේ empirical data වලින් අපිට justify කරන්න පුළුවන් නේ මේක අනිත්.
ඔව් මෙතනින් පුළුවන් සම logic එක එහෙමයි සර් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ring ගල්ලා මේක later develop කළේ සර් ඇත්තටම. නැත්තම් ගොඩක් අය මේක දැනන් හිටියේ නෑ සර් මේ technique එක.
එහෙම අපිට literature වලින් support කරනවා නම් මේකත් okay නම් අපිට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ නේද එතකොට නේද? කොහොමද literature වල මේක දැන් මේ indicators කියලා අරන් තියෙන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ටෙස්ට් කරලා නේද? එතකොට formative උනත් නේද? එතකොට ඒක නිසා අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් මේ දෙකෙන්ම support කරලා මේක formative මේක නිසා මෙහෙම වෙනවා කියලා නේද?
අශෝක මිස් දැන් මේක develop කළෙත් මේගොල්ලෝ මුලදී formative වලට ඇත්තටම solution එකක් විදියට. මොකද AMOS වලින් ඒක ආපු නැති නිසා.
ඒ කියන්නේ PLS එක නේ PLS program.
දැන් මෙතන සර් ගියොත් මම පස්සේ run කරනකොට පෙන්නනම් PLS normal algorithm තියෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව තියෙනවා consistent PLS algorithm කියලා. මෙන්න මේක පස්සේ develop වුණේ එකක reflective තියෙනවා නම් මේක තමයි යන්න කියලා කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන්. reflective හරි කලවමේ තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ එකක් reflective එක construct එකක් අනිත් එක formative නම් මේ consistent එකට යන්න කියනවා. හැබැයි if all are formative originally they introduce normal algorithm. consistent එකේ වෙන්නේ කලවමේ තියෙනවා නම් එක සේරම reflective නම් මේක තමයි advice කරන්නේ ringle use කරන්න කියලා. හැබැයි මේ අතර ගොඩක් සමහර අය මේක follow කරන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් ඉතින් වඩාත්ම හොඳ ක්‍රමේ මේකට යන එක mix එකක් තියෙනවා නැත්නම් reflective consistent algorithm.
සමහරට ඔය readings වල මේ read කරනකොට ඔය මොකක්ද මේ reflective මේ අනිත් එක formative එකේදී සමහරක් ඒවා compromise වෙනවා ඇති නේද? මේ validity liability වගේ ඒවා.
අනිවාර්යයෙන්.
ඒවා read කරලා තියෙ ටික පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න වෙනවා නේ.
අපි දිනේෂ් දැන් මේකේ reliability අරම ඒවා එහෙම බලන්නේ නේද? අපි බලන්නේ
බලනවා මිස්.
බලනවා.
මිස් දැන් මම
ඒවා තමයි අශෝක මං හිතන්නේ ඒවා compromise වෙනවද දන්නේ නැහැ නේ.
ඔව් ඒක
Formative
තමයි.
නේ.
ඔව් අපි බලමු නේද ඉස්සරහ.
Now I go to calculate. Now I had drawn this one, sir. Then I can go to calculate here. You get the same options you see here, right? Under calculate item. Same thing you can see. Now I go to consistent PLS algorithm. Since I am having a reflective, but some people go directly to PLS algorithm, but logically this is the one they recommend. Consistent PLS algorithm. That means format, what you call reflective or both reflective and formative together. I go to consistent PLS algorithm. I click that. Then you get several things here. Initial calculation. They advise connect all latent variables for initial calculation. Therefore, I keep that. That's as a better option. Then partial least squares. You can change your iterations, but minimum they say 300 is required, right? Further, you can see the logic when you read the articles, whether 300 is sufficient or not. And also stop criterion, they look at the very small minimum value up to this 7, right? You can see this base, the very small value up to decimal value, they look at 7, but you can change this, right? If you want. Then here also you can see centroid, mean-centered approach, factor-based approach, path-based approach. When you further read, you can understand whether you need factor-based or path-based. If you want to measure, look at only the measurement model, if you are concerned about, you can select factor-based. But if you are looking at both measurement model and ultimately path model, you can select path. By default, path is there. But there are some reasons for you to change these things also. For the moment, I will keep path. But weighting, I am not going to put any weighting here. Sometimes in some research, there can be a variable you can put as a weighting variable, like maybe if you want to give some more weight on some of the construct or certain things, you can have another variable in your data set. But in this case, I don't have any weighting factor. Therefore, I keep as it is without any weighting factor. Then I go to start calculation. That's a very basic process. Start calculation. Further, you can read this description, right? They give some of the certain descriptions about basic things, right? Elaboration. Start calculation. And as far as I know, you have to be online when you run this one, right? You have to always with internet. Since they are having this online a particular calculation, right, with their websites, they are having that particular data analysis with the link to the websites, right? Their websites. Better to be online when you run these calculations. Now you can see there are some results are here, but before that you can go to this one. Now your graph is there with the values. I think this is what you see in some of the presentations, no, like in the findings format. Now you can see here, factor loadings are here. Now when you do AMOS or any other, you can see factor loadings. That means their contribution to particular job autonomy. You can see here, no? We look at the threshold level 0.5, some say 0.7, right? You can, based on your right literature and the methodology, you can judge whether which one is having the sufficient level of factor loadings, right? You can see. Are you clear up to this point? Now you see normal model run. This is a path model. Hello?
Yes, Dinesh, I think it's clear.
Yes, but in SCM, you know that as a tradition, we had to look at two different models. No, first you had to look at the measurement model. Outer model, we say that. Outer model means not this path outside. You had to look at outer model, especially this what you call factor loadings. Outer model. Now, if you read this article, you can see, I think those who are doing AMOS, they know that. The two-step process of SCM, I think. You read this article, you can see the process. First, you have to look at the measurement model. That means outer model, we say that. In the other article, you can see that one. This is a particular order, right? I think SCM, if you have practiced SCM, you know that, right? Outer model assessment first you have to do, where you have to look at the reliability, validity, like in AMOS, of reflective construct, validity of formative construct, you had to look at these things, outer model. Then inner model, later you had to go to inner model. That means the path model, right? We call inner model, path model. There you have to look at some of the things relevant to the goodness of the inner model as well. Simply we are looking at the F square, we call the effect size, we call predictive relevance, Q square, right? Later we can discuss. And also usual R square you have to look at. That's the inner model assessment. Then you can look at the path coefficients as well. That's very basic steps in SCM that is applied to PLS as well. I think I had a diagram here also to show outer model and the inner model. I don't know whether you see this one in the article. Somewhere it's there, outer model and the inner model. Lalisa, is it okay?
Yes, Dinesh, you can.
This is the one you can see here. Now, if you draw the model, you can see outer model is there. Outer model is dealing with the factor loadings, especially, right? Then inner model is talking about the path, right? Inner model. Therefore, you can see this one here. Outer model. In the outer model, you can see path coefficient values. Then the flexibility is like this. Now you see this one is not 0.5, right? Some people say 0.5, some people say 0.7 threshold level for factor loading. Therefore, if you want, you can remove this one again, rerun the analysis, right? You have that flexibility. Now here, if you look at, you can simply drag this and change the picture also, right? To make it much clearer. Now here, I am having good factor loadings. But if you look at job satisfaction, I am having very poor values, you can see. Therefore, you can drop some of the items and rerun the analysis. You can simply select and delete some of the ones. If you find, you can delete and again you can calculate, right? Likewise, you can improve the model. Then again, you can see the same model with the new values. But again, I find satisfaction 1 is not there. Likewise, even autonomy 3 also you can remove and you can rerun the analysis. Likewise, you can improve the model. And other thing is there's a report also generated, right? This is the particular graph, but for the details, you can go to PLS algorithm reports. Now you can see here reports are there, right? I think you can see this one. Down there, you can see path coefficients again are there. But I'm going to look at mainly outer loadings. This is what you see in the model, right? As the factor loadings, Lalisa. You can see the same thing here under reports. And also construct reliability and validity also you can see here. Normally name also what you see here, you can see here, right? Cronbach-Chalpappo job autonomy, job routineness, job satisfaction. And also composite reliability is also there, right? We look at both composite reliability and also AVE is there, right? You can drag and see the full one, right? Average variance extracted. You can see these ones, but I find sometimes job autonomy, this is less than 0.5. Therefore, I can again go to this one and remove some of the poor loadings and rerun, whereby I can try to improve this average variance extracted and other indicators. That is how you are trying to improve the model. Like you can quickly do that. That flexibility is there. You can remove some of the things and again you can rerun the analysis. Now I remove this autonomy since it is having poor factor loadings. Again, I run this, calculate consistent PLS algorithm. Then you can go to results and see construct reliability and validity. Now that is improved, no? You can see when you remove that one, average variance extracted, that means a convergence validity measure, you know, in factor analysis. Now that is improved. Likewise, you can try to improve up to a certain level by removing some of the indicators. Further, you can see that as a graph also, right? The minimum threshold level 0.5. Sometimes when this is very poor, you can see red color. Likewise, you can copy paste this or you can save this, right? For your report. In Cronbach-Chalpappo also you can see as graph. Likewise, all these are there. Then that is about the outer model. I think first we had to look at the outer model. What do you call the measurement model? We call alternatively, right? First we have to improve the outer model, measurement model. And also, Lalisa,
Dinesh, can I ask a question?
yes.
Now, how we can make sure that this outer model, I mean, the measurement model is good?
Sorry, sir.
Now, how we can know
Yes. I'm
whether
coming
this
to that,
measurement
sir.
model is good?
Yes, I'm coming to that. Now I'm coming to discriminant validity, sir. Now we look at the Cronbach alpha, composite reliability, and the convergence using AVE and other reliability measures. That's a convergence, but discriminant also I can look at. Traditional, I think, what do you call that? Traditional method we call what's the technique? Fawn and Larker method. No, sir. You can see. You can see here you are having autonomy. Autonomy. You can see this is a square root of AVE. Normally, Fawn and Larker criterion, right? If you want to look at this construct is having sort of a clear difference from other construct. We call discriminant validity. That means job autonomy is clearly different from job satisfaction, job routineness. You want to have that demarcation, we call discriminant validity. There's a clear difference between the two constructs. You have to look at the square root of AVE. I think you know that. I think you can see this AVE. Now job autonomy AVE is 0.506. You have to get the square root of this. No need to calculate that. You can simply see that here, right? The square root of 0.506 is, you can see here, that is 0.712. You compare that with job autonomy's normal correlation with job routineness and job satisfaction. Typically, it should be less than square root of AVE here. Then only you can say that discriminant validity is there, right? Now, for example, I look at job routineness. Square root of AVE of job routineness is 0.815. Then I compare that with job satisfaction. No? That is having correlation with job satisfaction 0.618. That means sort of discriminant validity is there. Then you can see this one also as what you call outer model sort of a assessment criterion, Lalisa. And also recently they have introduced heterotrait, monotrait feature also, Lalisa. This is also alternative one for measuring discriminant validity. Traditionally we had Fawn and Larker, but when you are having higher order construct, next week we can discuss, I think, higher order construct. Some people say that Fawn and Larker criterion is not sufficient. Therefore, they go for some better measure of heterotrait, monotrait test, where you look at again different type of correlation they calculate. It should be less than 0.908, then much better, right? Now, job routineness and job autonomy correlation is not that high. Heterotrait, monotrait correlation, that is less than 0.8. And also job routineness and job satisfaction also less than 0.8. That means correlation is not too high. Therefore, there is a clear difference between the two constructs. Therefore, we can say discriminant validity is assured to a certain extent. Heterotrait, monotrait. That is something about the outer model things. Then I'm coming to what you asked about this, what you call model quality, no?
Yes.
If you look at traditionally, like PLS is not that strong about the model quality indicators, but recently they have introduced something, but not like if you look at this AMOS, you are having 3 or 4 indicators, no, in AMOS.
Yeah, we calculate model fit indices, no?
Yes, how square and certain things are there, no, in AMOS. Here they have introduced something called, you can say, model fit and model selection criteria. You can see model fit. Traditionally, you can see this one recently they introduced in PLS SRMR. If you look at SRMR, means they look at something called this one, that stands for standardized root mean square residuals. That should be ideally less than 0.1 if you have a good model. We are having a saturated model one as also estimated one also. But we can look at saturated one. It should be less than 0.1. In that case, we can say that model is having sort of a good fit. That means errors are less. That is one. Recently, they introduced this one, but you don't have a good set of indicators like in AMOS. but recently they introduced this one. And also chi-square also there, but we look at the second one, norm fit index. Norm fit index. Ideally, this should be 0.9 and above. When you improve the model, deleting some of the indicators, you can improve that to a certain level. But some people consider even 0.8 also sufficiently large. It should be above 0.8 or 0.9 non-fit index. This should be below 0.1 root mean square 1. These are two quality indicators recently they have introduced. Lalit sir?
Yes. Now, Dinesh, this is model fit now.
Yes.
So is it regarding the path model or the measurement model?
This is relevant to what you call measurement model quality.
Ah, right.
But if you look at the inner model, you can look at these two. One is FP square. FP square is something like R square, but the calculation is different, right? It is a particular thing derived from R square with another adjustment. FP square, we call effect size. It should be bit above 0.1, like 0.1 to 0.3, maybe somewhat sufficient. Not 0 or less than that. FP square value. When this is somewhat higher, you can say that overall effect size is significant or something. Then traditionally we are looking at R square also for the inner models. And also another thing is there, when you go to this model, you can see another thing, calculate, you go to blindfolding. There is another thing called blindfolding. There's a blindfolding technique. Here we do something called predictive validity, predictive assessment. Again, another model quality indicators in the inner model, path model.
Path model.
Here there is something called omission distance. They do something technically, every 7th case they omit. Now let's say you are having, let's say 70 cases, every 7th one they omit and try to predict that using particular technique. Like now the 7th one, every 7th one in the data set, they are trying to do a prediction, omitting that one. That's a particular logic they explain. Then you can change this one if you want. Now in this case, I am not allowed to have 7. I had to make it less than that, since I am having a limited database data set. Then I make it 6 omission distance, and I do start calculation. Then you get something called Q square. Sir. You can see that on the model also, like R square. This is not R square. You can see only for the dependent variable Q square. We call this is Q square value. This is talks about again how much like predictive validity is there in the model, predictiveness, whether the model is capable of predicting job satisfaction. We call this a predictive relevance of the model. That is another inner model assessment criterions. Those are the particular.
So 0.134 can means less predictive.
Much better. Normally, you don't need the very higher values. It should be above 0.
All right.
0.01 to 0.1 is somewhat better, but you can go from 0.1 to 0.3, 0.3 to 0.6 can be a sufficiently large. But if it is 0 and less than that, you don't have a good predictive validity, sir. Then there is some issue with the model, predictive relevance.
But in the original model, we got R square here, no?
You can get R square normal model when you run the normal algorithm.
Yes, I saw that.
Therefore, all together you have to analyze R square, FP square, effect size, and this one for the measurement model, SRMR and norm fit index.
Right.
Now you get here R square.
Yes.
But PLC is traditionally weak relevant to this what you call model estimator. Like recently they have introduced these model estimators. And the other thing is now we have looked at this what you call measurement model. Once you have looked at the measurement model, improved that, then you have to look at the inner model. That's the second part of the SCM findings analysis, no sir, presentation. No? Second part, what you call inner model or the structural model assessment. Then you have to look at the path coefficients. Now you can see the path values. But you want to look at the significance, no? Therefore, I go to consistent algorithm. I run the bootstrapping, sir, now. Now we look at the consistent algorithm for the normal path analysis, but now I'm looking at the significance, in and out model significance. Then I had to look at consistent PLS algorithm. Sorry, consistent PLS bootstrapping, sir. Here, I had to decide bootstrapping, how many subsamples I need. Here you can specify. Typically, they say that 5,000 is much better. That means from this one, you are going to resample and recreate 5,000 subsamples from this one.
Dinesh, is it necessary if the sample size is large enough?
Sorry?
Let's say our sample size is 500, or if our sample size is large, so is it necessary to run this one?
Yes, one situation is when you having a small sample size, they advise you need 5,000 or something, but still they advise that you don't have 5,000, let's say it's still 500, but still they say that you don't have the parametric assumptions and you don't have particular, what you call, sufficient number of observations. Since they are using the variance matrix, they need sufficiently large number of one. That means if you're having a full model analysis, 5,000 is a requirement minimum for the final analysis. But if you have only basic analysis for the pilot test or something, 500 subsample might be sufficient, sir. But if you're having I understand what you said. If you're having a big sample, you can justify sometimes, no need. But they say that better having more sample generation. Therefore, they can have more number of observations. That might be much reliable. When you're having more observation in your sample, you can have a very, I think, observable set of what you call sample, which can be more reliable, accurate. But one situation is when you're having a small sample, we use PLS. In that case, I think 5,000 bootstrapping sample can be a very good logic, I think. But if you're having a big sample size, you can decide whether you need 5,000 or even less than that, you can argue. But I see having a large sample, subsamples might be always generating a very good results according to their argument.
Yes. Thank you.
But for the initially, if you need basic bootstrapping, you can have 500. But if you go for the final analysis of your thesis, you can go for the complete one. Here you get all the measures run. That means all the outer model, inner model assessment are done. Therefore, complete bootstrapping you can do in that case. But if not for the pilot one, you can have basic bootstrapping. But the case is when you increase this 5,000, it takes time, right? You need a much processing speed in your laptop or the computer, right? If not, it takes time. When you have 5,000, it takes sometimes 5-10 minutes. When you're having large number of indicators in your model, it takes more time to process, get the results when you improve the subsample size here. For the moment, I will do on the basic bootstrapping. I will start calculation, but here I connect all the latent variables for initial calculation. I use the path by default, but if you want, you can have the factors also. If you are looking at only measurement model initially, you can select factor. Then weighting also, we don't have any criteria for weighting, no any variable. Therefore, I go to basic process, start calculation. But here 500 you can quickly get, but if you're having a big sample, it takes time, big sample size. Now you can see the same model. Now these are the t values, statistic. But earlier you had factor loadings, no?
Right.
Factor loadings. But now these are the factor loadings, p value, significance level, other side of the p value. That means අපි කියන්නේ 1.96ට වඩා වැඩි නම් අපි කියන්නේ t value එක 1.96ට වැඩි නේ සර් මෙතන we can less than 0.05 නම් p value එක t value එක 1.96 and above නේ. Now here these are significant. You can see the path coefficients also t values here, but we are very much familiar with not t values, p values. Therefore I can do something here. You can see left side here, you can see down here. In a model, t values are by default there, but I can select both path coefficients and p values. This is the one we are familiar, no? you can see outside, you can see the path coefficients, like the regression coefficient, beta coefficient. Inside, you can see the p-value. Now, p-value is less than 0.05. You can reject the null and accept your alternative hypothesis, saying that this is significant. That's a simple logic. Path coefficient and the significance p-value is there. But here, not significant. This is above 0.05. Are you clear up to that point?
To me, it's clear. I don't know what others. If
That's a very basic steps which
if
I
you have
discussed.
any questions, clarification, you can ask.
Yes. And sir, you can again get the report for this one as well. For what you call this bootstrapping also. These reports are there. You can import them into Excel, or you can copy paste, right, for your analysis. Total and indirect effect is also there. Next time we can discuss for the mediate analysis, these things, right? Total effect, indirect effect, those things are there, right? Total effect, direct effect, indirect effect for the mediation. And also we can create moderate effect also. Next week we can discuss that one. And also higher order construct we can discuss. Now this is a first order construct, no? You directly measure from indicators to a main construct. But sometimes you can see job autonomies form using some other 2 dimensions. Sometimes in your model, you might have the construct with several dimensions. Dimensions are composed of indicators. We call second order construct, higher order. Some are third order. Next time, I think we can see something like that also. I think basic knowledge, I think you have, I think you know how to draw it, how to run the basic analysis, bootstrapping, and the algorithm.
Now, when we develop only in the instrument, only we need to run the measurement model, no? So
Yes.
we can do that, no? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Ah.
Now I can remove and I can have a measurement model. Yes, that is also possible. You can redo, undo, that facility also there. You can have the grid view.
This seems more user-friendly, no? Than when compared.
Color palette is there, but not allowed in the student version. But in other ones, you can have nice colors and nice graphics you can have. In quadratic effect, moderating effect. I think next week we can discuss moderating effect also. It's very easy to create the moderating effect.
So we can also do good group comparison with this.
Yes, yes. Next day we will discuss here. There is something called multi-group analysis, multi-group, and also confirmatory tetrad analysis to identify formative or reflective ones, and also predictive analytics. Also, they improve. I think there are some other newly added things also you can see. Blindfolding is there.
So the audience, any questions, clarification now?
You can further read and master when you know this basic knowledge.
Yes.
I think Ashoka Miss is there. I think she's okay, no? Ashoka Miss.
Yes, Dinesh, everything fine. Want to listen again the last part. Though it is clear, want to listen again.
We have the recorded session now. We can.
Yeah, recording. I want to listen the last part only.
Last part means.
No, because it's the two reports and this.
Okay, that's simply you can see what you see most of the time in AMOS also. You can see some of the reports similar to this.
Yes, yes.
So now it's time. Now 9. So any questions? So otherwise we can end the session for today's the first session. So we have we may have another 2 or 3 sessions. No, depending
1 or 2,
on
I think we can
maybe
discuss
1 or 2. Yes.
important things.
Next
Yes.
one 2. Yeah, maybe 2.
And also now with the R also they are compatible, right? But not here, so you can export the these reports into R. In R you can run more advanced analysis called what you call necessary condition analysis. That's a very latest thing introduced, necessary condition analysis. That means now you see here path coefficients, no, sir? Sometimes one path coefficient might be insignificant. No? Now here I saw that job routineness insignificant. Like when you look at the relationship job routineness and job satisfaction, p-value was much higher, about 0.05. You can null reject කරන්න නැහැ නිසා ඒ කියන්නේ insignificant. හැබැයි ඒකෙන් කියන්නේ නැහැ sir අපේ මේක පටන් ගන්න වෙලේ සමහර job routineness කියන එක තියෙනවනේ up to certain level, but that is not shown here. But in necessary condition they show that even in the final analysis variable is insignificant rejected, still this is required for up to certain minimal level. There's a certain bottleneck analysis that you need to link this to R Studio. There are some packages you can download and run that complementary analysis.
So that means we can get more accurate results, no?
Yes.
Really important things.
I think there are PhDs also based on this one now. There are, I think, very good journals also published based on this smart PLS packages. You can see.
When compared to Amos, this is easier than.
Easier and much flexible, Ashok.
Yeah.
So any questions, clarifications? Otherwise we can wrap the session today. Right.
And if you want to read further, look at Ringle. They are the founders. They are Ringle. I think they're having a lot of readings, articles about this clarification. If you go to PLS websites, they are having frequently asked questions, discussions, reviews. That site of support also you can get.
Vilani, now I think now we can end the session, no? Yes.
Okay, sir.
5 years.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Professor Dinesh Samarasinghe, so thank you very much for making that basic knowledge regarding smart PLS. I think this is a good foundation for all of us to get the more knowledge in future sessions relating how we can use this tool to help our research studies and make it good publishable level. So hope to see you in next week with more advanced techniques with this smart PLS. And the colleagues who join with us, thank you very much for being with us today, and expect to see you in next week also. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again, and all of you, good night.
1 minute, Dinesh. Do you want us to save this one for the next week?
Data set? No need. If you want, you can save. It's okay. You can save this. Or again, you can maybe at home you can draw and see how it's happening. Ashok.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then good night. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Dinesh.
Good
Thank you
night
so
to all.
much.